The Blue Zones, Lessons for Living Longer from the People Who've Lived the Longest by Dan Buettner. Picture this, a young, driven executive named Sayoko Ogata, burning the candle at both ends in Tokyo. She's living that high-octane lifestyle you'd see in a thriller, up before sunrise, drowning in back-to-back meetings, working until the city lights blur together, then dragging herself to dinners and karaoke sessions that don't wrap up until the wee hours. She's crushing it professionally, the money's rolling in, and she genuinely loves the chaos. But here's the thing. There's this gnawing emptiness inside her, like she's missing something fundamental. Then one day, her job sends her to Okinawa, this tiny Japanese island, as part of a research team trying to crack the code on why some people live ridiculously long lives. In a small fishing village, she crosses paths with Ushi Okushima, a 104-year-old woman who's basically Sayoko's polar opposite. Ushi's life is beautifully uncomplicated. She tends her own garden, surrounds herself with family and friends daily, has zero money or fancy titles, yet somehow radiates this infectious joy and contentment. When Ushi greets Sayoko's team, complete strangers from thousands of miles away, it feels like being wrapped in the warmest hug imaginable. Sayoko never even has a proper conversation with Ushi, but she feels what she can only describe as this massive energy emanating from her. Standing there afterward on some random street corner, sipping juice, Sayoko has one of those lightning bolt moments of clarity. She suddenly sees her own existence for what it really is, a hamster frantically chasing a carrot, dangling just out of reach, perpetually sprinting but never actually getting anywhere. Right then and there, she decides she wants what Ushi has. When she gets back to Tokyo, she does the unthinkable and walks away from her corner office. She relocates to a quiet island, teaches herself to cook, finally marries her boyfriend, and starts building a family. Her entire world transforms, all triggered by a fleeting encounter with someone who'd stumbled upon the secret not just to living longer, but to living better. That transformative meeting captures the essence of what we're diving into today, The Blue Zones, by Dan Buettner. This isn't your typical preachy health book telling you to eat more kale and do burpees. It's part mystery novel, part travel adventure, and part blueprint for unlocking a longer, healthier, and genuinely happier existence. Buettner, who's both an explorer and a National Geographic writer, didn't hunt for answers in some sterile lab or bougie gym. He went straight to the source, leading an all-star team of scientists, demographers, and journalists on this amazing worldwide treasure hunt to find the places where people were absolutely crushing the longevity game. They called these magical spots Blue Zones. What they uncovered will completely flip your understanding of health on its head. Get this, only about 25% of your lifespan is locked in by your genes. The remaining 75%? That's all about how you live. But here's the beautiful twist. The folks in these blue zones aren't obsessing over being healthy. They're not religiously tracking calories, running themselves into the ground with marathons, or popping fistfuls of supplements. They're simply existing in environments and cultures where the healthy choice happens to be the easiest choice, often the only real choice available. Today, we're tagging along on Dan Buettner's incredible journey. We're going to hop from the craggy mountains of Sardinia to the sun-soaked coastlines of Costa Rica, visiting these remarkable pockets where people are somehow beating the aging odds. We're going to meet the real people who figured this out, and I promise you by the time we're done here, you'll walk away understanding 9 straightforward but incredibly powerful principles that can help you create your own personal blue zone, potentially tacking on a solid decade of vibrant quality years to your life. Our story kicks off not with some miracle drug or sci-fi breakthrough, but with a harsh, unavoidable reality. Humans have spent centuries hunting for the fountain of youth, some magical way to turn back the clock. But here's what a gathering of more than 50 of the planet's leading longevity experts concluded. There is no magic pill, no vitamin, no hormone therapy, no surgical trick available right now has actually been proven to halt or reverse aging. Think of aging like driving a car that only has a gas pedal. We haven't discovered the brake yet. The best strategy we've got is learning to ease off the accelerator. And that's exactly what most of us in the modern world are doing wrong. We're living these pedal-to-the-metal lifestyles that are running our bodies into the ground way too early. But what if there was a completely different approach? That question launched Dan Buettner on his quest. He partnered with demographers and scientists to comb through data from every corner of the planet, hunting for statistical oddities, places where people were hitting 100 years old at rates up to 10 times higher than in the United States, all while dodging killer diseases like heart disease and cancer. They discovered 4 such places. First up was this rugged, mountainous chunk of Sardinia, Italy. Second was the island of Okinawa over in Japan. Third, surprisingly enough, was a community of Seventh-day Adventists hanging out in Loma Linda, California. And fourth was Costa Rica's Nicoya Peninsula. The whole Blue Zone name has a pretty cool origin story. A Belgian demographer named Michel Poulain and an Italian doctor, Gianni Pez, were analyzing Sardinia's population. As they zeroed in on the cluster of villages with crazy high longevity rates, they grabbed a blue pen and drew a circle around the area on their map. The name just stuck. These were Earth's blue zones, and our first adventure takes us right back to that Italian island where it all began. Imagine this island off Italy's coast, a landscape of steep mountains and deeply rooted traditions, so cut off from the world that for centuries the locals developed this intense wariness of outsiders. They had this telling proverb, "He who comes from the sea is here to steal." This is Sardinia's Barbagia region, where people turned inward, depending on family, community, and the unforgiving land to get by. What researchers discovered here was mind-blowing. In most developed countries, for every man who reaches 100, there are 4 women who make it. But here, in Sardinia's Blue Zone, it was 1-to-1. Something about this culture was enabling men to live just as long as women, keeping their strength and energy well into old age. What was their secret? The answer wasn't just one thing, but this beautiful tapestry of interconnected habits woven right into everyday life. First off, there was movement. The men here were traditionally shepherds. Their work wasn't brutal like some CrossFit session, but it involved this constant, moderate activity. They'd cover miles every single day, navigating rocky terrain up and down, which delivered all the heart-healthy benefits you'd ever need, strengthened bones and muscles, but without destroying their joints like running does. This persistent, gentle movement shows up in every blue zone. They don't work out in the way we think about it. They just live lives that naturally demand movement. Then you've got the diet. It was lean and plant-focused, built around whole-grain bread, beans, and vegetables straight from their gardens. They'd eat pecorino cheese from grass-fed sheep, which packs tons of omega-3 fatty acids, and they'd sip this local red wine called Cannonau. This particular wine, because of how the grapes adapt to Sardinia's brutal sun, contains 2 to 3 times more of those artery-cleaning flavonoids than other red wines. Meat was basically a luxury item, saved for Sundays or special celebrations. But honestly, Sardinia's most powerful secret wasn't hiding in their food or exercise routines. It was embedded in their culture. Family was absolutely everything. Elders weren't shuffled off to nursing homes. They were honored, living with their families and actively involved in raising grandchildren. This gave older folks this deep sense of meaning and connection, and research shows this dramatically cuts depression and stress. And the men had this wonderful, dry sense of humor. Every afternoon, they'd gather in the town square to laugh together and poke fun at each other. This daily ritual was like a stress pressure valve. They could diffuse tension with a joke, a trait that might have literally been keeping them alive longer. This blend of natural movement, plant-heavy eating, profound respect for family, and a built-in stress relief mechanism created a culture where men were defying all odds and living just as long as women. Now let's jet halfway around the world to another island, this time in the Pacific. For almost 1,000 years, Okinawa, Japan earned the nickname Land of the Immortals. And honestly, they deserved it. Okinawans have some of the highest life expectancies anywhere on Earth, experiencing only a fifth the rate of heart disease, a quarter the rate of breast and prostate cancer, and a third the rate of dementia compared to Americans. Here we meet incredible people like Kamada Nakazato, this 102-year-old woman who served as her village's spiritual priestess, called a Noro. Every single morning she'd wake at 6, brew jasmine tea, then walk to this sacred grove to pray for her village's well-being. Her life, like so many others in Okinawa, was shaped by this powerful sense of purpose. They call it ikigai, which translates to the reason you wake up in the morning. This isn't some fluffy philosophical idea. It's a concrete part of who they are. Kamada felt genuinely needed. Her village's health literally depended on her daily prayers. This sense of purpose acts like a shield against life's stresses. The Okinawan diet is another crucial piece. For most of their lives, the older generation got the bulk of their calories from one humble food, the sweet potato. It was this hardy tuber that thrived in Okinawa's challenging soil and became their dietary staple. They ate it morning, noon, and night. Today we know sweet potatoes are nutritional superstars, loaded with fiber, vitamin C, and beta-carotene. Their diet also featured tons of soy, like tofu and miso soup, plus vegetables from their gardens. Things like bitter melon or goya, which contains compounds that help lower blood sugar, and medicinal herbs like mugwort and turmeric, both powerful anti-inflammatories. They had this saying, a Confucian wisdom they'd recite before every meal, Hara Hachi Bu. It's basically a reminder to only eat until you're 80% full. Our brains take about 20 minutes to receive the I'm full signal from our stomachs. By stopping at 80%, Okinawans naturally limit their calories without ever feeling deprived, a practice science has proven extends life. And finally, Okinawans have this amazing social safety net called a moai. A moai is basically a group of 5 or 6 friends who commit to each other for life. Originally created for financial support, they evolved into these deep social support networks. These women and men meet daily to chat, sip tea, and share life's ups and downs. They know with absolute certainty that no matter what happens, serious illness, losing a spouse, running out of money, their moai will catch them. It's an incredibly powerful, lifelong stress reduction system. So we've got Sardinia with its walking shepherds and tight-knit families, and Okinawa with its deep sense of purpose and lifelong friendships. But could this kind of culture actually exist in the United States, a country famous for drive-thrus and chronic stress? Surprisingly, the answer is absolutely yes. Our third stop is Loma Linda, California, a town roughly 60 miles east of Los Angeles, sitting right in the middle of the smoggy Inland Empire. It's home to about 9,000 Seventh-day Adventists, who, as a group, are outliving pretty much every other American. Adventist men live about 7 years longer than your average California guy, and women add about 4.5 extra years. Here we meet remarkable people like Marge Jetton, who at 100 years old still tears down the freeway in her Cadillac. Her day kicks off at 4:30 in the morning with prayer, followed by walking a full mile down her apartment building's hallway, riding her stationary bike, and pumping some dumbbells. After her bowl of oatmeal, she spends her day volunteering, delivering magazines to the old folks at the senior center, most of whom are literally decades younger than her. The Adventists' longevity springs from their faith, which isn't just a religion but essentially a prescription for healthy living. Their church discourages smoking and drinking alcohol, and their diet draws from the Bible, meaning no pork. In fact, loads of Adventists are vegetarian. For decades, researchers at Loma Linda University have been running the Adventist Health Study, one of the most comprehensive investigations into diet and longevity ever conducted. What have they learned? Vegetarian Adventists have roughly half the risk of heart disease compared to meat-eating Adventists. They've uncovered the remarkable power of nuts. Adventists who eat a handful of nuts at least 5 times weekly have about half the risk of a heart attack and live roughly 2 years longer than those who skip them. They even discovered that something as basic as drinking 5 or 6 glasses of water daily can significantly slash the risk of a fatal heart attack. But again, it goes way beyond just diet. The Adventists have this powerful social network built around their church and shared beliefs. They naturally gravitate toward hanging out with other Adventists, which constantly reinforces their healthy habits. And they've got this built-in 24-hour stress reliever that happens 52 times every year, the Sabbath. From Friday sunset to Saturday sunset, Adventists just stop. No work, no chores, no stressing about the week's obligations. They focus on family, faith, and nature. They call it a sanctuary in time, this guilt-free window to rest, recharge, and reconnect with what truly matters. This regular, predictable pause is phenomenally effective at fighting the chronic stress that plagues modern life. Our final destination brings us to what was, until recently, one of Costa Rica's most isolated regions, the Nicoya Peninsula. A demographer named Luis Rosero Bixby first spotted something weird in the numbers. Men over 90 here had a better shot at reaching 100 than men in almost any other country worldwide, including Japan and the United States. When Buettner's team showed up, they confirmed it. Nicoya was officially the world's newest blue zone. Here we meet guys like Don Faustino, a 101-year-old cowboy who still rides his horse and catches the weekly bus to market to buy groceries for his family. Life here has always been tough, filled with physical labor from dawn to dusk, but that hard work has kept them incredibly strong. The Nicoyan secret seems to lie in a few key ingredients working together. First, they have a plan de vida, a reason to live, really similar to the Okinawan Ikigai. It's this strong sense of purpose, usually centered on family, that keeps them active and engaged. Second, they eat this incredible diet, rooted in the traditions of the indigenous Corotega people. It's built on what's sometimes called the Three Sisters of Mesoamerican farming: squash, corn, and beans. This combination is a nutritional powerhouse, but their corn preparation is unique. They soak the kernels in lime water, a process that not only loads the corn with calcium but also unlocks amino acids, making the protein more complete. This ancient technique may have created one of the most perfect longevity foods humanity has ever stumbled upon. And then, there's literally something in the water. The water in Nicoya is incredibly hard, meaning it's absolutely loaded with calcium and magnesium. By drinking and cooking with this water daily, Nicoyans get all the calcium they need, which helps explain their lower heart disease rates and stronger bones. They also get plenty of what you might call sensible sun. Their outdoor lifestyle guarantees they get enough vitamin D, which is essential for bone health and keeping your immune system functioning properly. So after circling the globe, after sitting down with hundreds of centenarians, what are the common threads? What universal lessons can we extract from these wildly different cultures? Dan Buettner and his team distilled all their research into 9 powerful, interconnected principles. They call them the Power 9. First up, move naturally. The world's longest-lived people aren't pumping iron at the gym or running marathons. Instead, their lives are naturally designed to encourage constant, low-intensity movement. They're gardening, walking places, doing household chores by hand. Second, purpose. The Okinawans call it Ikigai. The Nicoyans call it plan de vida. Knowing your sense of purpose is worth up to 7 extra years of life. Third, downshift. Even people in blue zones experience stress. What they have that most of us don't are built-in routines to shed that stress. Okinawans take a few moments daily to honor their ancestors. Adventists pray. Sardinians have their social happy hours. Fourth, the 80% rule. Harahachi bu, that Okinawan reminder to stop eating when your stomach is 80% full. That 20% gap between not being hungry and feeling stuffed could be what determines whether you lose weight or gain it. Fifth, plant slant. Beans, including fava, black, soy, and lentils, form the foundation of most centenarian diets. Meat gets eaten on average only 5 times monthly in small portions. Sixth, wine at 5. People in all blue zones except the Adventists drink alcohol moderately and regularly. Moderate drinkers actually outlive non-drinkers. The secret is drinking 1 to 2 glasses daily, ideally with friends and or with food. Seventh, belong. All but 5 of the 263 centenarians Buettner interviewed belong to some faith-based community. Research shows that attending faith-based services 4 times monthly adds somewhere between 4 to 14 years to your life expectancy. 8th, loved ones first. Successful centenarians prioritize their families above everything. This means keeping aging parents and grandparents nearby or living in the home. They commit fully to a life partner and invest serious time and love in their children. And finally, the 9th lesson, right tribe. The world's longest-lived people either chose or were born into social circles that actively support healthy behaviors. Okinawans created their moai. Sardinians have their daily social gatherings. Finding your right tribe, that group of friends who share your values and bring out your best self, might be the single most powerful thing you can do for your longevity. These 9 lessons aren't meant to be a rigid checklist. They're more like a web of interconnected habits that create this virtuous cycle. A sense of purpose motivates you to move. Moving naturally helps you connect with friends. Connecting with your tribe reinforces healthy eating habits. Everything works together, creating this lifestyle and environment where living a long, healthy life isn't just possible, it's almost inevitable. When you zoom out and really look at the lessons from the Blue Zones, what's genuinely remarkable is how refreshingly simple they are. In our world that constantly bombards us with complicated solutions, the newest superfood trend, the most grueling workout program, the most cutting-edge anti-aging supplement, this book brings us back to a fundamental truth. The secrets to living long and healthy aren't actually secrets at all. They're timeless principles that humans have been practicing for centuries. The most profound lesson for me is this idea that health isn't some solo mission. It's a team sport. We typically think about our health as purely our own responsibility. I need to dig deeper for willpower. I need to be more disciplined. But the people living in Blue Zones show us a completely different path. Their longevity isn't because they possess superhuman willpower. It's because of their environment. They exist in cultures where the healthy choice happens to be the easy choice. Their friends show up with fresh vegetables from the garden, not a box of donuts. Their daily routines naturally involve walking, not sitting stuck in traffic. Their social traditions are built around genuine connection and stress relief, not mindless consumption. This completely shifts the question from, how can I force myself to be healthier, to, how can I design my environment to support my health? And that second question is so much more empowering. It means we can stop beating ourselves up for lacking willpower and instead start making small, strategic tweaks to our homes, our social circles, and our daily habits. So what can you actually do, starting right now, to build your own personal Blue Zone? You don't need to pack up and move to Sardinia. You can start ridiculously small. First, take a hard look at your kitchen. The book mentions how Okinawans use smaller plates. Give it a shot. Research proves you'll eat significantly less without consciously thinking about it. Stick a fruit bowl on your counter where you can't miss it, and stash the junk food in some hard-to-reach cabinet. You're basically engineering your environment for success. Second, think about movement. You don't need a gym membership. Can you squeeze in a 20-minute walk during lunch? Can you take stairs instead of the elevator? Can you start a tiny garden, even if it's just a few pots on your balcony? The goal isn't torching calories. It's about weaving constant, gentle movement back into your everyday life. And third, and this might be most crucial, take stock of your tribe. Who are the people you spend most of your time with? Do they elevate you? Do they support the best version of you? As this book demonstrates, the people we surround ourselves with have a massive impact on our behaviors and our health. Making a deliberate effort to spend more time with friends who are active, positive, and share your core values might be the single most important decision you make for your long-term well-being. That was a summary of The Blue Zones by Dan Buettner. We've traveled to the longest-lived corners of our world today. But let's be real for a second. A summary is like scrolling through a travel brochure. It gives you a taste of the destination, but it can never replace the actual experience of being there. The real magic of this book lives in the stories, the unforgettable characters, and those small details that bring these lessons to life. This summary exists to help you figure out if this is a journey worth taking. If anything we've explored today has lit a spark in you, I really encourage you to grab a copy. Reading the full book isn't just about absorbing information. It's an invitation to fundamentally reimagine what a good, long life can look like. You'll find the link to the book in the description below. Also, if this summary gave you something valuable to chew on, do me a quick favor and smash that subscribe button. It shows me this work is actually making a difference, and it makes sure you won't miss our next deep dive into another potentially life-changing book. Let's keep learning and growing together.